There's a reason you're hearing these words at this exact moment in your life. It's not random. It's not coincidence. You're here because something deep within you, the part I call your higher wisdom, is whispering that it's time. It's time for the greatest comeback you've ever experienced. Can you feel it? Perhaps you've been through difficult months or years. Perhaps you've stumbled and fallen. Perhaps you've lost things you thought you couldn't live without. Perhaps you've looked in the mirror and no longer recognized yourself. But let me be crystal clear about this. Everything you've been through, every pain, every failure, every long night when you questioned whether you could continue, all of it has been preparing you to step into the most extraordinary phase of your life. I want you to pause for a second and really contemplate this word comeback. We often think of it as returning to where we once were, but that's not what's happening to you. The comeback you're entering isn't about going back to the old version of yourself. It's about stepping into an entirely new version, one that the difficulties have forged, that the challenges have strengthened, that the losses have taught what truly matters. You're not going back. You're moving forward. And that's why this comeback is going to be so powerful. You see, in my many years of working with thousands of people, I've observed a pattern. The people who create the greatest breakthroughs, the people who live the most extraordinary lives, they're not the ones who have never fallen. They're the ones who have fallen but learned to rise with new understanding. They've taken the fragments of what was broken and created something more beautiful, more powerful, more meaningful. And that's exactly what's happening to you right now, whether you recognize it or not. Let me share with you something I've learned throughout my life. The universe never wastes an experience. Every challenge you face, every obstacle you encounter, every moment when you feel like you can't go on, all of it is part of a plan far greater than our limited minds can comprehend. Lao Tzu, the great Chinese philosopher, once said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." And that's exactly what has happened to you. You've let go, perhaps not willingly, perhaps forced by life itself. But in that letting go, you've created space. Space for the new, space for transformation, space for miracles. Now, I know some of you listening might be thinking, "Wayne, you don't understand. You don't know what I've lost. You don't know how badly I've failed. You don't know what people have said about me or what mistakes I've made." And you're right. I don't know your specific story. But here's what I do know. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen. It doesn't matter how much you've lost. It doesn't matter how many people have given up on you or questioned you. The only thing that matters is the decision you make right now in this moment about who you're going to become from here forward. I want to share a story from my own life. There was a time when everything seemed to be falling apart. My career was going nowhere. My marriage was struggling. I was questioning every decision I'd ever made. I remember sitting in my living room late one night, feeling completely hopeless, wondering if I was wasting my life. And in that darkest moment, something shifted inside me. I realized I was looking at my situation from a place of fear and limitation. I was allowing external circumstances to define who I was. And in that moment of awakening, I made a decision. I decided that regardless of what was happening around me, I would not allow it to determine who I was on the inside. That was the beginning of everything. Not because the external circumstances suddenly changed overnight, they didn't, but I changed. And when I changed, when I began to see the world through a different lens, when I started to act from a place of possibility rather than limitation, everything began to shift. Not immediately, not in the way I expected, but it shifted, and the years that followed became the most extraordinary years of my life. Not because I discovered some magic secret, but because I realized the secret was the shift in my own consciousness. And that's exactly what's available to you right now. A shift, an awakening, an opportunity to see your life, your circumstances, your challenges through an entirely new set of eyes. But here's the thing. It requires a decision, a commitment. Not a commitment to a specific outcome, but a commitment to the process of becoming the person you were born to be. Let me be clear about what this means in practical terms. The greatest comeback of your life doesn't begin with a grand action. It begins with a small shift in perception. It begins when you stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances and start seeing yourself as the creator of your experience. This isn't positive thinking or denial of reality. This is a fundamental truth about how life works. You are not your circumstances. You are not your past. You are not your failures or your losses. You are the infinite creative consciousness that is responding to all of it. And when you truly grasp this, when you really understand it at a cellular level, everything changes. Think about a seed for a moment. When a seed is planted in the ground, it's buried in darkness. It's covered by soil, invisible, seemingly dead. If that seed could think, it might believe it's been buried alive, that its life is over. But you and I know the truth, that burial isn't an ending, it's a beginning. That darkness isn't death, it's the necessary condition for new life. The seed doesn't need to figure out how to become a tree. It doesn't need a step-by-step plan. It simply needs to remain true to its nature, to trust the process, to allow the intelligence within it to unfold. And in time, it breaks through the soil and reaches toward the light. This is where you are right now. You've been in the darkness. You've been buried. It has felt like an ending. But I'm here to tell you that you are that seed. Everything you need is already within you. The intelligence that will guide your comeback, the strength that will carry you through, the wisdom that will show you the way, it's all there. It's always been there. It's just been waiting for you to stop fighting it and start trusting it. Now, let me talk about something crucial that most people miss when they think about comebacks. They think it's about external achievement. They think it's about getting back the job, the relationship, the money, the status, whatever it is they lost. And while those things might come, and often do, they're not what the comeback is really about. The real comeback is internal. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about reconnecting with your true nature. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who you should be. I've worked with people who had everything by society standards, wealth, fame, success, and they were miserable. And I've worked with people who had lost everything, and they were radiant with peace and joy. The difference wasn't in their circumstances. It was in their relationship with themselves. It was in their understanding of what truly matters. Your comeback is an invitation to discover what truly matters to you, not what your parents said should matter, not what society says should matter, not what your ego says should matter, but what your soul knows matters. Here's something I want you to really absorb. Right now, in this very moment, you have everything you need for your comeback. Not everything you think you need, not everything society says you need, but everything you actually need. You have breath in your lungs, you have consciousness, you have the ability to make a choice, and that's enough. That's more than enough. Because the greatest power you possess isn't the power to control external circumstances, it's the power to choose your response to those circumstances. It's the power to decide what meaning you'll give to your experiences. It's the power to transform yourself, and in transforming yourself, to transform your life. Let me share something with you that might sound radical. Your comeback has already begun. It began the moment you started listening to this message. It began the moment something inside you said yes to the possibility of change. It began the moment you allowed yourself to hope again. Even if that hope is just a tiny flicker, that flicker is enough. That's all you need. Because hope, real hope, isn't about circumstances getting better. Hope is the recognition that you have the power within you to meet whatever comes with grace, with strength, with wisdom. Now, I need to talk to you about something that will try to stop your comeback before it really gets going. And that's your own mind. Specifically, the part of your mind that's invested in keeping you small, in keeping you safe, in keeping you exactly where you are. This is what I call the ego. And it's terrified of change. It's terrified of growth. It's terrified of you stepping into your power. So it's going to throw everything it has at you to keep you stuck. It's going to whisper that you're too old, too young, too damaged, too broken. It's going to remind you of every failure, every mistake, every time you tried and didn't succeed. It's going to point to all the evidence that suggests you can't do this. It's going to tell you that it's safer to stay small, to not try to protect yourself from disappointment. And here's what I want you to understand. All of that is a lie. It's a convincing lie. It's a lie that feels true, but it's still a lie. The truth is this: you have never been broken. You've been bent? Yes. You've been challenged? Absolutely. You've been through fire? Without question. But broken? Never. Because the essence of who you are, your true self, your highest self, that part of you is unbreakable. It's eternal. It's infinite. And it's ready to guide you through this comeback if you'll let it. Here's what I've learned about working with that voice of fear and doubt. You don't fight it. You don't try to shut it up or push it away. You simply acknowledge it and then make a different choice. You say, thank you for sharing, but I'm choosing to move forward anyway. You see, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and taking action anyway. Courage is hearing the doubt and believing in yourself anyway. Courage is acknowledging all the reasons why you might fail and trying anyway. I want to give you something practical right now. Something you can do today that will begin to shift your energy toward your comeback, and it's this. I want you to start telling a different story about your life. Right now, you have a story about what happened to you, about why you're where you are, about what it all means. And chances are that story is keeping you stuck. It's a story of victimhood, of limitation, of reasons why things can't change. I'm not saying that story isn't based on real events. I'm saying the meaning you're giving to those events is holding you back. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to create a new story, a story where everything that happened to you, all the pain, all the loss, all the struggle, was actually preparing you for something magnificent. A story where you're not a victim but a warrior in training. A story where the setbacks were setups for comebacks. A story where you're not damaged goods but a masterpiece in progress. And here's the key. Start telling yourself that story. Start speaking it out loud. Start writing it down. Start living as if it's true. Because here's what I know. The story you tell yourself about your life becomes your life. Let me tell you about a man I once knew. He had lost everything. His business failed. His wife left him. His health was deteriorating. By all accounts, his life was over. But he did something remarkable. Instead of seeing himself as finished, he saw himself as being stripped down to his essence so he could rebuild from a place of authenticity. He started asking himself, if I could design my life from scratch, knowing what I know now, what would it look like? And then he started taking small steps toward that vision. Not big, dramatic leaps, small, consistent steps. 5 years later, his life looked nothing like it did during that dark period. But more importantly, he looked nothing like he did. There was a light in his eyes, a peace in his demeanor, a confidence in his step that hadn't been there before. When I asked him about his comeback, he said something I'll never forget. I didn't come back. I came forward. I became someone I never would have become if I hadn't lost everything. The greatest gift of my life was the complete destruction of the life I thought I wanted. That's what's available to you. Not just a return to what was, but an evolution into what can be. But it requires you to release your grip on how you think things should be and open yourself to how they might be. It requires you to trust that there's an intelligence in the universe that knows what it's doing, even when you don't. It requires you to believe that you're being guided, even when you can't see the path ahead. Now, let's talk about timing. Because I know some of you are thinking, this sounds good, Wayne, but when? When will my comeback happen? When will I see results? When will things change? And I understand that impatience. I've felt it myself. But here's what you need to understand. Your comeback isn't something that happens at some future date. Your comeback is happening right now. Every moment you choose faith over fear, that's your comeback. Every moment you choose to see possibility instead of limitation, that's your comeback. Every moment you take action toward your vision instead of staying paralyzed by your circumstances, that's your comeback. The mistake most people make is they're waiting for the comeback to happen to them. They're waiting for circumstances to change, for opportunities to appear, for someone to rescue them. But that's not how it works. Your comeback isn't something that happens to you, it's something that happens through you. You are the instrument of your own transformation. You are the catalyst of your own change. And the moment you truly accept that responsibility, that's when everything begins to accelerate. I want you to think about water for a moment. When water is heated, it doesn't suddenly become steam at 100 degrees. It's been changing all along, from 0 degrees to 99 degrees. That water is getting warmer, it's shifting, it's transforming, but we don't see the dramatic change until it reaches that boiling point. Your life is like that right now. You might not see the evidence of your comeback yet. You might feel like nothing is changing, but I promise you, if you're doing the internal work, if you're shifting your consciousness, if you're taking aligned action, changes are happening. The water is heating up, and one day you will reach that boiling point and the transformation will become undeniable. But you have to trust the process. You have to keep going even when you don't see immediate results. You have to believe that every effort matters. Every choice counts. Every small step forward is building momentum, because that's the truth. Nothing you do in alignment with your higher self is ever wasted. It's all contributing to the shift that's occurring within you and around you. Let me address something that might be weighing on your heart right now. Some of you are carrying guilt or shame about the past. You're beating yourself up for decisions you made, for time you wasted, for opportunities you missed. And you think that somehow you need to pay penance for those mistakes before you deserve your comeback. Let me be clear. That's not how the universe works. The universe doesn't punish, it doesn't keep score, it doesn't make you earn your way back into grace. Grace is always available. Forgiveness is always available. A fresh start is always available. The only one keeping you in prison is you. I need you to hear this. You don't have to be perfect to have your comeback. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to erase your past or pretend it didn't happen. Your comeback includes all of you. The mistakes, the failures, the regrets, all of it. Because those experiences have given you something invaluable. They've given you wisdom. They've given you compassion. They've given you depth. They've made you human. And that humanity is your greatest asset, not your biggest liability. So I'm inviting you right now to forgive yourself, to really, truly forgive yourself. Not in some surface way where you say the words but don't mean them, but in a deep, cellular way where you release the burden you've been carrying, where you acknowledge that you did the best you could with the awareness you had at the time, where you recognize that your mistakes were part of your journey, not detours from it, where you give yourself the same compassion you would give to someone you love deeply. Here's something beautiful that happens when you forgive yourself. You free up an enormous amount of energy. All the energy that was going into self-judgment, self-criticism, self-punishment suddenly becomes available for creation, for growth, for movement forward. It's like you've been trying to drive with the parking brake on, and suddenly you release it. You're amazed at how fast you can move when you stop fighting yourself. Now, I want to talk about the people in your life because they're going to play a role in your comeback, for better or worse. Some people are going to celebrate your transformation. They're going to encourage you, support you, believe in you. Hold those people close. They're your tribe. They're your allies. They see the truth of who you are, even when you forget it yourself. But here's what else is going to happen. Some people are not going to like your comeback. They're going to be threatened by it. They're going to try to pull you back down. They're going to remind you of who you used to be and question who you're becoming. And you need to understand why this happens. It's not because they're bad people. It's because your transformation challenges them. When you change, it holds up a mirror to their own life and their own choices. When you grow, it highlights where they've stayed stuck. When you step into your power, it reveals their own powerlessness. So they'll try to keep you small, not out of malice necessarily, but out of their own fear and insecurity. You have to be prepared for this. You have to be strong enough to keep going even when the people around you don't understand or support what you're doing. This doesn't mean you have to be harsh or cut people off, but it does mean you have to be clear about your priorities. Your comeback isn't a democracy. You don't need everyone's approval or permission. You don't need consensus. You need commitment, your commitment to yourself and your vision. And if that means spending less time with certain people or setting stronger boundaries, then that's what you do. Your comeback is too important to be derailed by people who don't have the vision to see what you're creating. Let me share something with you about vision. Your comeback requires you to see beyond current reality. It requires you to hold an image of who you're becoming, even when all the evidence suggests it's impossible. This is where most people fail. They look at their current circumstances and they let that dictate what they believe is possible. But here's what I've learned. Your current circumstances are the result of your past thinking and past actions. They have nothing to do with what's possible for you now. The moment you change your thinking, the moment you change your actions, you set new causes in motion that will create different effects. So I'm asking you to be willing to see what isn't visible yet, to believe in what hasn't manifested yet, to trust in what you can't prove yet. This is what faith really is, not blind belief, but the willingness to act on your inner knowing even when the outer world doesn't reflect it yet. When you live from this place, when you make decisions from this place, when you take action from this place, you become a powerful creator. You become someone who shapes reality rather than someone who simply reacts to it. Now, I want to give you something very specific to do, because inspiration without action is just entertainment. And I don't want this to be entertainment for you. I want this to be transformation. So here's what I want you to do in the next 24 hours. I want you to take one action, just one, that represents the person you're becoming. Not the person you've been, not the person others think you should be, but the person you're becoming in this comeback. It doesn't have to be big. In fact, it's better if it's small, but it has to be real. It has to be something that scares you a little bit, that stretches you, that requires you to step outside your comfort zone. Maybe it's making a phone call you've been avoiding. Maybe it's applying for a job you don't think you're qualified for. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation you've been putting off. Maybe it's starting that project you've been talking about for years. Maybe it's simply looking in the mirror and saying, I believe in you. I'm proud of you. I'm not giving up on you. Whatever it is, do it. Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Don't wait until you feel ready. Just do it. Because action creates momentum, and momentum creates results, and results create belief, and belief creates more action. That's the virtuous cycle of transformation. Here's something else I want you to understand about this comeback. It's not going to be linear. There will be good days and hard days. There will be moments when you feel like you're flying and moments when you feel like you're falling. There will be breakthroughs and breakdowns, and all of that is normal. All of that is part of the process. The problem is, most people expect transformation to be smooth. They think once they commit to change, everything should flow easily. And when it doesn't, when they hit obstacles or have setbacks, they think they're doing something wrong or that it's a sign they should give up, but that's not true. The obstacles are part of the path. The setbacks are part of the setup. The challenges are strengthening you, preparing you, ensuring that when you reach your breakthrough, you're ready to sustain it. Think about a butterfly for a moment. When a butterfly is ready to emerge from its chrysalis, it has to struggle to break free. That struggle is what pushes fluid into its wings, giving it the strength to fly. If you were to help the butterfly, if you were to cut open the chrysalis to make it easier, the butterfly would never fly. It would have weak, shriveled wings. The struggle isn't an obstacle to its transformation. The struggle is the mechanism of its transformation. The same is true for you. Don't curse the struggle. Embrace it. It's making you who you need to be, Now, I want to talk about something that might be uncomfortable, but it's crucial. You need to take responsibility for where you are. Not blame, responsibility. There's a difference. Blame is about judgment and punishment. Responsibility is about power and choice. When you take responsibility for your life, even for the parts that weren't your fault, you reclaim your power. You move from victim to creator. You stop waiting for someone or something else to change, and you become the change. This doesn't mean you caused everything that happened to you. Life throws curveballs. People hurt us. Systems fail us. Circumstances conspire against us. I'm not denying any of that. But here's what I'm saying. Regardless of what happened to you, you get to choose what you do with it. You get to choose what meaning you give it. You get to choose what you become because of it. And when you truly embrace that level of responsibility, when you stop making excuses and start making choices, that's when your comeback accelerates exponentially. I've seen this again and again in my work. The people who transform their lives most dramatically are the ones who stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror. They're the ones who say, you know what? It doesn't matter whose fault it is. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. What matters is what I do next. What matters is the choice I make right now. That's the attitude of a champion. That's the mindset of someone who creates extraordinary comebacks. Let me share something with you about purpose, because your comeback is intimately connected to your purpose. See, when you're going through difficult times, it's easy to lose sight of why you're here. It's easy to forget that you have gifts to give, contributions to make, a unique role to play in this world. But the truth is, your purpose didn't go anywhere just because you went through hard times. If anything, your purpose has been clarified and deepened by what you've experienced. You now have wisdom you didn't have before. You have empathy you couldn't have developed any other way. You have strength that could only be forged in fire. Your comeback is about reclaiming your purpose. It's about stepping back into your role as a contributor, as someone who matters, as someone who makes a difference. And I'm not talking about something grand or famous necessarily. Your purpose might be to be a loving parent. It might be to create art that moves people. It might be to build a business that serves. It might be to be a friend who really listens. Whatever it is, it matters. You matter. And the world needs what only you can give. So I'm asking you to reconnect with that. To ask yourself, what am I here to do? What am I here to give? What am I here to create or contribute or become? And don't tell me you don't know. You do know. There's a part of you that has always known. You've just been too busy surviving to listen to it. But now, in this moment of your comeback, you have an opportunity to tune back into that inner guidance, to remember what lights you up, to recall what makes you feel most alive. As we move toward the close of our time together, I want to paint a picture for you. I want you to see yourself 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. I want you to see the person you're becoming through this comeback. See yourself with clear eyes and a confident heart. See yourself moving through life with purpose and passion. See yourself handling challenges with grace and wisdom. See yourself creating, contributing, connecting in ways that feel authentic and meaningful. See yourself at peace with who you are, comfortable in your own skin, no longer seeking approval or validation from outside yourself. See the relationships in your life transforming as you transform. See new opportunities appearing as you become someone who can receive them. See doors opening that you didn't even know existed. See yourself inspiring others simply by being who you truly are. This isn't fantasy. This isn't wishful thinking. This is what happens when you commit to your growth, when you do the inner work, when you take aligned action day after day. This is what's on the other side of your comeback. But it requires something from you. It requires your full commitment, not a half-hearted effort, not a I'll try and see what happens approach, but a deep, unwavering commitment to becoming the person you know you can be. A commitment that says, I don't care how long it takes, I don't care how hard it gets, I don't care who doubts me or who walks away, I am doing this. I am becoming this. This is happening. That level of commitment is what separates those who create extraordinary comebacks from those who stay stuck. So here's what I'm asking you to do right now, in this moment. I'm asking you to make a decision. Decide that your comeback begins now, not tomorrow, not when things get better, not when you have more resources or more support or more confidence. Now decide that you're done being small, done playing victim, done waiting for permission or approval or perfect conditions. Decide that from this moment forward, you're going to show up as the person you're becoming. Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if you don't believe it yet, even if no one else sees it. And then take that first step. Take that action we talked about. Do that thing that scares you. Make that move that stretches you. Because your comeback isn't a destination you arrive at someday. Your comeback is built through the accumulation of small, brave choices made consistently over time. It's built through showing up when you don't feel like it. It's built through trying again when you fail. It's built through choosing faith over fear, possibility over limitation, growth over comfort, again and again and again. You are capable of so much more than you realize. You have strength you haven't tapped into yet. You have wisdom you haven't accessed yet. You have potential that's just waiting to be unleashed. And this moment, this challenge you're facing, this difficult chapter you've been through, it's all been preparing you to step into that potential, to claim that strength, to embody that wisdom. Your greatest comeback isn't about returning to who you were. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. And that journey begins right now with the decision you make in this moment to say yes to yourself, yes to your potential, yes to your purpose, yes to your comeback. You've got this. I believe in you. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself